Wherein Chris Christie, the New Jersey governor that's betting it all here on the Granite State, went after Marco Rubio, making the argument that he has a habit of taking a shot at his rivals and then following it up with lofty rhetoric that, to Christie's assessment, seems canned by his consultants. Rubio tried to fight back. Watch.
He simply does not have the experience to be president of the United States and make these decisions.
I think the experience is not just what you did, but how it worked out. Under Chris Christie's governorship of New Jersey, they've been downgraded 9 times in their credit rating.
That's what Washington, D.C. does. The drive-by shot at the beginning with incorrect and incomplete information, and then the memorized 25-second speech.
Chris, your state got hit by a massive snowstorm 2 weeks ago. You didn't even want to go back. They had to shame you into going back. This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
He knows exactly
what he's doing. There it is, the memorized 25-second speech.
Well, that's the...
Even Democrats piled on Marco Rubio tonight, saying that he repeated that line about Barack Obama knowing exactly what he's doing as many as 4, maybe even 5 times during the course of the evening. There was another big exchange, and it featured Jeb Bush, who's also absolutely invested in New Hampshire, needs to do well here, or it could ultimately slow his campaign to the point of not making it at all. And he went after Donald Trump on the issue of eminent domain. Donald Trump defended it, talking specifically about the Keystone Pipeline. And Jeb Bush said that it's just simply not right that Donald Trump has used it sometimes for commercial use. Watch.
They all want the Keystone Pipeline. The Keystone Pipeline, without eminent domain, it wouldn't go 10 feet, okay? You need eminent domain.
What Donald Trump did was use eminent domain to try to take the property of an elderly woman on the Strip in Atlantic City. That is not public purpose. That is downright wrong. How tough is it to take property from an elderly woman?
Let me talk. Quiet.
How tough is it?
A lot of times...
Trump got booed a number of times. The issue of eminent domain is particularly sensitive in New Hampshire. There is an ongoing debate. It's been stalled for several years in this state about power lines coming from Canada through the north woods of New Hampshire into the Granite State. It's called the Northern Pass, and it's been stalled because folks up in the northern part of the state have a NIMBY issue. They simply don't want it in their own backyard, not in my backyard. So for Trump to be arguing in favor of eminent domain in this state could cause him a little bit of headaches, but overall he got a pretty good debate performance, showed a little bit of humor, kept some of his opponents on offense. He leads the polls here in New Hampshire, but his negatives, his unfavorable ratings in the polls are quite high, and because independents can vote in this state, he may still be able to pull out a win, but it's clear that Marco Rubio's nipping at his heels and getting the incoming that goes with someone with momentum. Brett?
Carl Cameron in the spin room. Carl, thank you. Let's bring in our panel tonight. Fox News senior political analyst Britt Hume. David Gregory, former moderator of NBC's Meet the Press and author of the book, How's Your Faith? A.B. Stoddard, associate editor of The Hill, and Steve Hayes, senior writer for the Weekly Standard. Okay, Britt, thoughts on the night?
Well, 3 things, Brett. Marco Rubio indeed had a tough night, and I think it may have hurt him in a way that will last certainly till Tuesday and perhaps beyond. He has been so fluid and so coherent in these debates so far that it's been one of the strong points of his campaign, if not the principal strong point, and he had anything but that tonight. Donald Trump, it seems to me, nobody did anything, it seems to me, tonight, including Trump himself, that would check his momentum and his standing here. He may fade, but I don't think he's going to fade because of what happened here tonight. And finally, I think Jeb Bush had his best debate by far. But the question for him is whether, you know, the world has passed him by and it's just too late for him.
David, what was Rubio doing? Coming back to that answer 4 times, 5 times, I think, in that exchange with Chris Christie.
Well, he was ignoring Christie, and I think there was a calculation in the beginning, which is, I don't want to go toe-to-toe with Christie. I don't have to worry about him. Let me take on Obama. Let me be a general election candidate. The problem with that is he hasn't knocked those guys out yet. There's a lot of people looking at New Hampshire saying, you know what, this is the time when Rubio can unite the party, can eliminate Bush and Christie and Kasich, but he didn't do that because he's playing over their heads when he hadn't knocked them out yet. And I think that was a mistake. I think he was just trying to play into the general election middle of the fairway, and it's too early for that.
Maybe.
That worked last week at your debate because he talked like a general election candidate, talked like the nominee, he was going after Hillary. It was great. Tonight it was a flop. Why? Because he knew the exact attack that was coming at him. You're young, untested, and inexperienced. He fell right into Christie's trap. He knew it was coming, and then he did boy in the bubble. I have to go to my robotic talking points. I can't take a surprise question. And Christie's attacks have been so obnoxious all week, but tonight Christie had a great debate, and what he did to Rubio could have been completely anticipated by Rubio's team and the candidate himself, and they flopped. Those moments when he kept repeating himself were just absolutely bizarre.
We knew that Ted Cruz and Donald Trump were going to have their own kind of moments, and Ted Cruz arguably had a decent debate on number of different issues. But the Kasich, Christie, Bush, Rubio, that was really the battle here in New Hampshire.
It really was. I mean, the three candidates who have spent the most time here in New Hampshire, Kasich, Bush, and Christie, have, I thought, had their best nights of the entire campaign, the best debates of the entire campaign, all of them with good moments. Christie clearly got the better of Marco Rubio in those exchanges. Jeb Bush had a very strong answer, I thought, on veterans issues. He was smart. I can't believe it's taken a candidate this long to go at Donald Trump on the eminent domain question, and not just the policy question, but on trying to seize the property of Vera Kokings, this 74-year-old widow that was at the center of that dispute. Surprised that it didn't happen before. Trump seemed flustered, didn't really have much of a substantive answer in response to Jeb Bush.
I would just add just a couple of thoughts about that. One is that Trump's defenders were saying tonight that he didn't actually get the property. That's because he was stopped by a court, which I don't think is the greatest defense I've ever heard. And the other thing I would add is that it was certainly Chris Christie that did the job on Marco Rubio. The question that it raises is whether the tough guy, the brawler that Christie certainly was tonight, is appealing to voters. In other words, he hurt Christie, but did he help himself, I think, is a question.
Yeah, and I actually don't think he helped himself. I think Christie comes off as very effective on Rubio, but he also appears nasty. And I don't think, you know, temperamentally that's appealing to independent voters, voters across the spectrum around the country. But I think for Rubio, part of the issue here is authenticity, and it's the leadership moment. You know, he owned that immigration debate, and then he turned on it, and he did abandon it. And I think that is going to hurt him. And now, if he had really defended it, he may not have even gotten this far. He could have been destroyed politically long before. But this is where a governor can take you on and be effective. And I think
let me just play this, since some people may not have seen the back and forth with Rubio and the kind of repetitive answer that he kept coming back to. Take a listen.
Under Chris Christie's governorship of New Jersey, they've been downgraded 9 times in their credit rating. This country already has a debt problem. We don't need to add to it by electing someone who has experience at running up and destroying the credit rating of his state.
That's what Washington, D.C. does. The drive-by shot at the beginning with incorrect and incomplete information, and then the memorized 25-second speech. When you're President of the United States, when you're a governor of a state, the memorized 30-second speech where you talk about how great America is at the end of it doesn't solve one problem for one person.
So your state got hit by a massive snowstorm 2 weeks ago. You didn't even want to go back. They had to shame you into going back. Here's the bottom line. This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
There it is, the memorized 25-second speech.
Let's dispel once and for all with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
Let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is trying to change this country. He wants America to become more like the rest of the world. Anyone who believes that Barack Obama isn't doing what he's doing on purpose doesn't understand what we're dealing with here.
I mean, how much is this going to hurt Marco Rubio?
Well, I mean, I think that's a painful sequence for Rubio to have to look back on, and it's certainly the thing that will likely be most played coming out of this debate. And I think the problem for Rubio is twofold. One, just playing that debate makes him look guilty of the charge that Chris Christie and others have been accusing him of all week, of being robotic and repetitive. But second, Rubio recovered quite well. He had a very good debate in the second half of the debate with specific answers on ISIS and Sunnis in an exchange, a 3-question exchange with Martha Raddatz. Then he had a good answer on abortion and gay marriage, a good answer on ISIS, a good answer on religious freedom. But I think from Rubio's perspective, that's what we're going to be seeing is that video.
Now we have Ohio Governor John Kasich joining us from the spin room. Governor, your thoughts on the debate tonight?
I was thrilled, Brett. You know, it was one of the first times in a debate, which are so short in your answers, that I think people could get a little bit of a better view of me. Not just my ideas, but a little bit about my personality. And we all think, everybody around thinks it was a great night, and I concur. You know, I got to talk about so many different issues, including what I would do in the first 100 days, which I rolled out in about 25 seconds, and talked about bringing people together. And I spoke to the people of New Hampshire, you know, from my heart about their heart. So I just think it was great, and given everybody a chance to rise. Brett, you should know I've run a very positive campaign here, and it'll be very interesting to see somebody who has not gone negative be able to finish very strongly here in New Hampshire.
Governor, you did mention numerous times that you've now reached 100 town halls here in New Hampshire, and you've put basically all your chips on this state. Where do you have to finish come Tuesday?
We're going to finish strong, Brett, and all my chips are not here. I've got chips in South Carolina, in Nevada, in the South, in Michigan. We have a national campaign, and we're rising. And look, we've got absolutely the best ground game in this state. I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of people knocking on doors, and I'll be with them again tomorrow. And we're in a really, really great position, and we have the momentum. And with a great night tonight, I think it's going to really move us up to, you know, who knows how far, but we're going to do well here.
Governor, one of the specific things you talked about tonight was on governing, that you don't trump the legislature. But in Ohio, you did trump the legislature when you passed the Medicaid and you accepted the Medicaid on Obamacare, didn't you?
No, I didn't trump the legislature. We passed it through a controlling board that the leadership of both the House and the Senate appointed the members to. This is not some, you know, trumping anything. In fact, if the legislators,
but you didn't work with the
legislative leaders hadn't have been for it. Well, no, it was with the legislature. It didn't go through the whole legislature. I'll tell you why, Brett, because the leaders thought